There is a painful truth about avoidant people that many never understand until they have already spent months trying to prove their love. You can give them attention. You can support them when life becomes difficult. You can forgive their distance. You can make sacrifices for them. You can stay patient when they become quiet. You can show them through your actions that you are not planning to leave. And still, one day, they may create distance between you, not because your effort meant nothing, not necessarily because they never cared, and not always because there was another person. Sometimes, the real battle is happening inside them. The closer the relationship becomes, the stronger their need to protect their independence can become. This is where the story becomes much deeper than simply saying they do not care. An avoidant person may have feelings that are real, but when emotional closeness begins to feel like dependence, those feelings can become difficult for them to handle. The very connection they wanted can start feeling like a threat to their freedom. And when that happens, they may do something that leaves the other person completely confused. They pull away from the person who has been trying hardest to stay close. This is one of the most misunderstood parts of attachment psychology. People often look at avoidant behavior from the outside and assume that distance means a lack of love. But attachment avoidance is not simply a personality trait that says a person has no feelings. It is a pattern in the way someone experiences closeness, vulnerability, dependence, and emotional needs. People who score higher in attachment avoidance often place a strong value on independence and self-reliance. They may feel more comfortable handling problems alone. They may prefer controlling their own emotions instead of openly sharing them. They may also become uncomfortable when a relationship begins to demand too much emotional vulnerability. And this creates a difficult contradiction. An avoidant person can care about someone and still struggle to remain emotionally close to that person. They can miss someone and still refuse to reach out. They can enjoy intimacy and then suddenly need distance. They can feel deeply connected one day and emotionally unavailable the next. To the person on the other side, this can feel almost impossible to understand, because the behavior seems to contradict the feelings. But psychology tells us that feelings and behavior do not always move in the same direction. That is why giving an avoidant person more and more may not always produce the reaction you expect. You might believe that if you become more patient, they will finally feel safe. If you communicate more clearly, they will finally open up. If you show them enough loyalty, they will finally stop pulling away. If you give them enough love, they will finally understand that they do not have to protect themselves from you. But relationships do not work like a mathematical equation where more effort automatically produces more emotional closeness. In some cases, increasing emotional intensity can actually make an avoidant person feel more pressure. And when pressure rises, their instinct may be to create distance. This is one of the lesser-known reasons why chasing an emotionally distant person can sometimes produce the exact opposite result from what you want. You move closer because you want reassurance. They move further away because they feel overwhelmed. You increase your effort because their distance scares you. Their distance increases because they experience increased as more emotional pressure. Before long, both people are reacting to each other instead of understanding what is actually happening. But there is an even deeper question hiding underneath this pattern. What is an avoidant person truly protecting when they pull away? Is it the relationship they are trying to escape from? Is it the person they no longer care about? Or are they protecting something much more personal? Their independence, their emotional control, their sense of self. For some people with high attachment avoidance, being emotionally dependent on another person can feel uncomfortable because dependence may be associated with weakness, vulnerability, disappointment, or loss of control. They may have learned through earlier experiences or repeated relationships that relying on other people creates emotional risk. So instead of moving toward connection when they feel vulnerable, they may move toward self-protection. They may become quiet. They may become less expressive. They may convince themselves that they do not need anyone. They may focus on work, hobbies, responsibilities, or personal space.
From inside,
It can look like they suddenly stopped caring, but internally, the situation can be much more complicated. And this is where the title of this video begins to make sense. It is not that an avoidant person literally does not care about anything you do for them. That would be far too simple. The deeper point is that when their need for autonomy becomes activated, they may prioritize their sense of independence over the emotional closeness you are offering. You could be the most supportive person they have ever met, but if they start feeling that the relationship is controlling their emotional world, they may still create distance. You could be completely sincere, but sincerity does not automatically remove their fear of dependence. You could give them everything they once claimed to want, yet they may still struggle to receive it comfortably. And this is why some relationships with avoidant partners become a painful cycle of closeness and withdrawal. The more one person tries to secure the relationship, the more the other person feels the need to protect their space. There is another important detail that often gets missed. Avoidance does not mean that a person is incapable of love. It does not mean every distant person is emotionally unavailable. And it certainly does not mean every person who needs space has an avoidant attachment style. Human behavior is far more complicated than a label. A person can withdraw because they are stressed, overwhelmed, emotionally exhausted, afraid of conflict, or simply trying to process their thoughts. That is why understanding patterns matters more than diagnosing someone based on a few behaviors. The goal of this video is not to turn avoidants into villains. It is to understand the psychology behind the distance and why certain relationship dynamics can become so confusing. By the end of this video, you will understand what an avoidant person may actually be loyal to when emotional closeness becomes intense. You will learn why your kindness, patience, sacrifices, and constant reassurance may sometimes fail to create the emotional response you expect. You will discover why chasing an avoidant can make the distance worse, what happens inside the push and pull cycle, and why giving someone space is not the same as giving up on them. More importantly, you will learn the difference between respecting someone's need for autonomy and abandoning your own emotional needs. Because this is where many people make their biggest mistake. They spend so much time trying to understand the avoidant that they stop asking whether the relationship is healthy for them. They keep giving, they keep waiting, they keep explaining, they keep hoping that one perfect conversation, one final act of love, or one more sacrifice will finally make the other person stay emotionally present. But sometimes the answer is not to give more. Sometimes the answer is to understand the pattern clearly enough that you stop losing yourself inside it and stay until the end. Because we are going to uncover one of the most important truths about avoidant relationships. The thing that can make an avoidant person feel safer is not always more love, more attention, or more reassurance. In some situations, it is the experience of having closeness without feeling that their identity, freedom, or independence is disappearing. That distinction can completely change the way you understand their behavior. It can also change the way you respond to it. Instead of chasing every withdrawal, you will begin to recognize the pattern. Instead of assuming every silence means rejection, you will learn to look at the larger behavior. And instead of trying to earn someone's emotional availability through endless sacrifice, you will understand where your responsibility ends. Because real love should not require you to disappear just to make another person comfortable. Understanding someone does not mean accepting everything they do. Compassion does not mean abandoning boundaries. And giving someone space does not mean waiting forever for them to decide whether you are worthy of closeness. The real power comes from understanding the difference. So as we go deeper into this topic, pay close attention to the moments when an avoidant person begins to pull away. The timing matters. The pattern matters. What happens before the withdrawal matters. And what happens after it can reveal even more. Once you understand these details, their behavior may stop looking random and start looking like a psychological pattern with a very specific purpose. Welcome to Behavioral Intelligence, where we explore the psychology behind human behavior, relationships, emotional patterns, and the hidden forces that shape the way people connect. If you want to understand people beyond what they say and beyond what is on the surface, subscribe to the channel and join us. Because sometimes the most important truth about a relationship is not found in how much someone receives from you, but in what they are trying hardest to protect when you finally get close. There is one thing an avoidant person may protect more strongly than the relationship itself, and that is their sense of autonomy. This does not mean they are heartless. It does not mean they are incapable of love, and it does not automatically mean they are selfish. It means that deep inside, independence can feel safer than dependence. They want to know that they can handle their own problems, make their own decisions, control their own emotions, and remain themselves even when they are deeply connected to another person. For someone with strong avoidant tendencies, emotional closeness can sometimes create a strange conflict. Part of them may want connection, affection, and companionship, while another part becomes uncomfortable when that connection starts feeling too important. The relationship can be meaningful, but the feeling of needing someone can become threatening. This is where their behavior can become confusing. They may enjoy being close to you when closeness feels voluntary, but begin creating distance when they feel that closeness has become an emotional requirement. They may want you near them, but they may also want to know that they can walk away whenever they need space. They may appreciate your support, but they may become uncomfortable if that support starts making them feel dependent. In attachment psychology, this pattern is often connected to what researchers describe as deactivating strategies. Instead of moving toward another person when emotional needs become intense, a highly avoidant individual may reduce awareness of those needs, suppress vulnerability, focus on independence, or create emotional distance. The purpose is often not to hurt another person. The purpose is to restore a feeling of control. That is why doing more for them does not always create more closeness. Sometimes it creates more pressure. You may think your extra effort is saying, "I love you." They may experience part of that effort as, "This relationship is becoming too emotionally important." You may think your constant availability is making them feel secure. They may experience it as, "I am becoming responsible for someone else's emotions." And once that feeling appears, their instinct may be to create space. This is one of the most painful misunderstandings in relationships involving avoidant attachment because the person giving more usually believes that more love should produce more connection. But emotional systems do not always respond to love in a simple way. A secure person may see sacrifice and think, "This person really cares about me." Someone with anxious attachment may see the same sacrifice and think, "This person is proving that they will stay." But a highly avoidant person may sometimes interpret excessive giving through a completely different emotional lens. They may think, "This person is becoming too involved in my life. This relationship is becoming too dependent. Now I owe them something emotionally." That last feeling can be especially uncomfortable. When someone feels that they owe another person constant emotional access, reassurance, affection, or commitment, they may begin to experience the relationship as pressure rather than comfort. Your kindness may still matter. Your sacrifices may still be noticed. Your loyalties may still have emotional value. But the meaning they attach to those things can be different from the meaning you intended. This is why the person who gives everything can sometimes be the person who receives the most confusing response. They keep thinking, "What else can I do?" They become more patient. They become more understanding. They forgive more. They explain themselves more carefully. They give more emotional support. They stay available. Yet the other person still seems distant. Eventually, they begin questioning their own worth. But the problem may never have been that they were not enough. The problem may have been that the relationship was activating two completely different emotional needs. One person was searching for reassurance through closeness, while the other was searching for safety through distance. And once that pattern begins, every attempt to solve it can accidentally make it stronger. When the avoidant person pulls away, the other person often becomes anxious. They send another message. They ask, "What is wrong?" They want an explanation. They ask reassurance. They explain their feelings. They try to repair the connection immediately. But from the avoidant person's perspective, that increased pursuit may feel like even more emotional pressure. So they pull away again. Now the other person becomes even more worried. They try even harder. The avoidant becomes even more distant. One person moves closer because they are afraid of losing the relationship. The other moves away because they are afraid of losing themselves inside the relationship. This is the push and pull cycle, and it can continue for a very long time if neither person understands what is happening beneath the behavior. The important thing is that this pattern does not automatically make one person the villain and the other the victim. Both people can be responding to their own emotional fears. One fears abandonment, the other fears emotional dependence. One searches for closeness to feel safe, the other searches for distance to feel safe. And the more intensely each person follows their own strategy, the more threatened the other person can become. This is why chasing an avoidant usually does not solve the problem. If autonomy is what they are protecting, forcing more closeness can make them protect it even more aggressively. But this does not mean the answer is to become cold, disappear, manipulate them, or play games. Healthy space is completely different from emotional punishment. If you want to create a healthier dynamic, the goal is not to make an avoidant person afraid of losing you. The goal is to create a situation where closeness does not feel like the loss of freedom. That can mean communicating clearly instead of repeatedly demanding reassurance. It can mean giving someone space without using silence as revenge. It can mean continuing your own life instead of making their emotional availability the center of your world. It can mean maintaining boundaries instead of endlessly tolerating behavior that hurts you. And it can mean allowing another person to choose closeness instead of trying to force them into it. Research on attachment and autonomy has found that highly avoidant individuals can respond more positively when their sense of autonomy is supported rather than threatened. This is a crucial distinction because many people misunderstand what emotional safety means for an avoidant person. They think safety means giving them unlimited reassurance. But sometimes safety means knowing that they can be close to you without losing their identity. They can express themselves without being controlled. They can have personal space without the relationship immediately collapsing. They can make decisions without feeling guilty. They can be loved without feeling trapped. And they can depend on someone without believing that dependence means weakness. This is also why giving an avoidant person everything can sometimes backfire. Many people secretly believe that if they become perfect enough, patient enough, attractive enough, understanding enough, or loyal enough, the avoidant person will finally choose them completely. But emotional availability cannot be purchased through sacrifice. You cannot earn someone's vulnerability by endlessly accepting emotional distance. You cannot force someone to become secure by loving them harder. You can create a healthier environment, but you cannot do another person's emotional work for them. At some point, the avoidant person has to decide whether they are willing to face the discomfort that comes with genuine intimacy. They have to learn that closeness does not automatically mean control. Vulnerability does not mean weakness. Dependence does not mean helplessness, and independence does not require emotional isolation. This is where real change begins, because understanding your attachment is different from using it as an excuse. Being avoidant does not give someone permission to ghost, manipulate, disrespect, repeatedly withdraw without communication, betray trust, or punish another person with silence. Attachment patterns can explain behavior, but they do not excuse harmful behavior. A person can have a deep fear of dependence and still learn how to communicate. They can need space and still communicate that need respectfully. They can feel overwhelmed and still avoid deliberately hurting someone. Positive relationship experiences can also influence attachment patterns over time, which means an avoidant person is not permanently trapped inside one identity. But change requires awareness. It requires us recognizing the moment when the instinct to escape becomes stronger than the willingness to communicate. And for the person on the other side, there is an equally important lesson. Stop measuring your value by how much an avoidant person is willing to receive from you. Stop asking, what else can I give? Start asking, what is this relationship giving back to me? Because there is a major difference between understanding someone's emotional limitations and allowing those limitations to control your entire life. You can understand why someone needs space and still decide that you need consistency. You can respect their independence and still expect communication. You can care about their wounds and still protect your own heart. You can give them room without making yourself smaller. And this may be the hardest lesson of all. Sometimes the person who keeps trying to prove that they are worth choosing eventually realizes that love should not feel like an audition. You should not have to continuously earn basic emotional consideration. You should not have to sacrifice your peace just to keep another person comfortable. You should not have to chase someone into giving you what they freely give when they genuinely want to connect. A healthy relationship needs room for two people to exist as individuals while still moving toward each other. It cannot survive forever on one person chasing and the other person escaping. And once you understand that, the question changes. Instead of asking, how can I make this avoidant person need me? You begin asking a much more powerful question. Can this relationship allow both of us to feel connected without either of us losing ourselves? Maybe the title sounds harsh at first. Avoidants don't care what you do for them. But after understanding the psychology behind avoidant attachment, the truth is far more complicated. An avoidant person can care about you. They can love you. They can appreciate everything you have done for them. They can miss you when you are gone. But when emotional closeness begins to feel like dependence, their instinct to protect their independence can become stronger than their desire to move closer. Their distance does not automatically mean that you were not enough. It does not mean your love had no value. And it does not mean that giving them more would have changed everything. Sometimes, the more you give, the more pressure they feel. The more you chase, the more they feel the need to create space. The more you try to convince them that they need you, the more strongly they may try to prove that they can live without anyone. That is why more sacrifice does not guarantee more love. More patience does not guarantee commitment. More forgiveness does not guarantee emotional availability. And more chasing does not guarantee closeness. The real lesson is not to punish an avoidant person for needing independence. It is not to become cold, distant, or manipulative just to make them chase you. It is not about playing games or disappearing so they finally understand your value. It is about understanding the pattern without losing yourself inside it. You can respect someone's need for space while still having your own needs. You can understand their fear of dependence while still expecting healthy communication. You can care about their emotional struggles without becoming responsible for fixing them. And you can give someone freedom without giving them unlimited access to your patience, your energy, and your peace. At some point, the question has to change. Stop asking, how much more can I do for them? Start asking, what is this relationship giving back to me? Because love is not supposed to be an endless test where one person keeps proving their worth while the other keeps deciding whether they are ready to come closer. You should not have to become smaller just to make someone comfortable. You should not have to silence your needs because someone is afraid of intimacy. You should not have to spend your days analyzing every message, every silence, every change in behavior, and every moment of distance. Understanding someone is valuable, but abandoning yourself in the process is not love. It is self-neglect, and this is where the deepest truth appears. You cannot control whether an avoidant person chooses closeness. You cannot force them to become emotionally available. You cannot love them into becoming secure. You cannot sacrifice enough to remove every fear they carry. That work belongs to them. What belongs to you is choosing how you respond. You can communicate honestly. You can maintain your boundaries. You can protect your emotional health. You can give space without begging for attention. You can stop chasing answers from someone who refuses to communicate. And most importantly, you can watch what they do when you stop trying to control the outcome, because freedom reveals character. When you stop chasing, what do they choose? When you stop overgiving, do they begin contributing? When you stop carrying the entire emotional weight of the relationship, do they finally step forward? When you give them the space they say they need, do they use that freedom to build a healthier connection, or do they simply use it to remain distant? These answers matter more than promises. They tell you what the relationship actually is. An avoidant person may be loyal to freedom. They may be loyal to independence. They may be loyal to emotional control. But you must be loyal to yourself. You can love someone deeply and still recognize that love alone cannot create a healthy relationship. You can understand their wounds and still refuse to let those wounds become your permanent burden. You can give them space and still walk away from a situation that continuously hurts you. You can hope for change without putting your entire life on hold waiting for it. So remember this the next time you feel tempted to give more just to keep someone close. Your value is not measured by how much someone is willing to receive from you. Your worth does not increase because someone finally chooses you, and your worth does not decrease because someone is unable or unwilling to give you the closeness you need. The right relationship will not require you to disappear in order to survive. It will allow both people to remain individuals while still choosing each other. You cannot force someone to choose closeness. You cannot make someone ready for vulnerability. You cannot control another person's attachment pattern, but you can choose not to abandon yourself while waiting for them to change. And sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is stop proving that you are worth loving and start paying attention to whether the other person is capable of loving you in a way that you can actually feel. If this video gave you a deeper understanding of avoidant behavior and helped you see relationships from a different perspective, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more psychology-based insights into human behavior, attachment, relationships, and emotional patterns. If you found this video valuable, hit the like button because it helps this channel reach more people who may be struggling to understand the same confusing relationship dynamics. And share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. Sometimes one piece of understanding can save a person from years of chasing an answer that was never theirs to solve. And before you leave, tell me in the comments, do you believe avoidants are more loyal to their independence than emotional closeness? Your perspective could help someone else understand what they are experiencing. Remember this: you can give someone space without losing yourself. You can love someone without chasing them, and you can understand someone deeply while still choosing your own peace. Sometimes the most powerful form of self-respect is not getting someone to come closer. It is knowing that you will never have to disappear just to make them stay.